His brides die suddenly. Some vanish behind monastery walls. Others never leave the bedroom alive, and still, he keeps getting married. Again and again. The man in the middle, a Tsar with a crown on his head and blood on his hands. No one tells the girls about the torture chambers under the palace. No one says that these same hands had civilians drowned in icy water and let whole cities bleed because of his paranoia. No one says that the man waiting for them beat his own pregnant daughter-in-law until she lost her child, and later flew into such a rage that he killed his own son. They don't call him Ivan the Terrible because it sounds dramatic. They call him that because it's true. Among all those brides and names, one appears and almost disappears again between the lines of history. Marfa Sobakina, officially third wife of Ivan the Terrible. In reality, a girl who is chosen, falls ill, and dies shortly after her wedding. Who is she? And what does it feel like to be chosen by a man who doesn't even spare his own family? This is her story. This is Crowned Secrets, where shining crowns crack and the darkest royal secrets rise to the surface. Marfa Sobakina comes from a wealthy merchant family. For her parents, that is a dream position. Whoever gets close to the throne can lift their family forward for generations. In many history books, Marfa is nothing more than one dry line. Third wife of Ivan the Terrible, died shortly after the marriage. But behind that single line lies an entire world. We do not know exactly what she thought or felt. We do know what was happening around her, a Tsar with a reputation for cruelty, a court where rumors of poison and intrigue never stopped, and a selection process that reduced girls to acceptable or rejected. To understand what Marfa is walking into, we have to look at the system that brings her to the palace. For centuries, Russian czars chose their wives through something historians later called a bride show. Accounts from the time describe how dozens, sometimes hundreds of young women were brought to court. Most of them were daughters of nobles or rich families. They are dressed, lined up, inspected and judged, sometimes even medically examined to see if they appear healthy enough to carry the next generation. Your face, your body, your family background, it all comes down to one question: is she useful for the dynasty? For most girls, the biggest fear is being rejected and sent home in humiliation. Under Ivan the Terrible, there is something else. Being rejected means you get your old life back. Being chosen can mean being pulled into the world of a man who does not recognize limits, even with his own blood. Ivan is not born as the Terrible. As a young Tsar, he marries Anastasia Romanovna. Contemporary sources describe her as calm and wise, someone who could soften his temper. With her at his side, Russia briefly seems to have a slightly more stable ruler. Then Anastasia dies. Suddenly, Ivan becomes convinced that she was poisoned by hostile nobles at his court. Whether that is truly what happened is still debated by historians. But one thing is clear: after her death, his behavior turns darker. He creates the Oprichnina, a personal terror force dressed in black. According to the chronicles, they burn villages, torture people, and carry out brutal executions whenever he senses betrayal. From that point on, his ability to trust others seems almost completely broken, and that lack of trust doesn't just hit enemies, it reaches all the way into his own bed. Years later, another bride show is organized. In a large hall surrounded by girls in ornate dresses stands Marfa. Maids comb her hair, powder faces, smooth out dresses, not to make the girls feel beautiful, but to present the Tsar with a perfectly arranged display of options. When Ivan walks into the hall, the atmosphere changes. This is no longer a room full of daughters. It is a row of candidates. He is no longer a young groom. He is a hardened ruler with a heavy reputation. Letters and chronicles from the time describe how his moods could suddenly swing from pious and gentle to harsh and deadly. The Tsar walks past the rows. He studies faces, posture, family background. A brief question, a nod, a longer look, enough to make or break lives. The girls stand completely still. Even without Marfa's diary, you can guess that this moment feels to her more like an inspection than the beginning of a fairy tale. At some point, he decides, the sources put it bluntly, Marfa Sobakina was chosen as the Tsar's wife. One sentence. For her, the end of everything she knows. To understand what that choice really means, we have to look at the women who came before her. After Anastasia, Ivan marries Maria Temryukovna, a princess from the Caucasus. Letters and chronicles describe how his violence and arbitrariness intensify during that marriage. Maria dies after a few years, officially of illness. But at a court where poison is a known political weapon, people do not always trust such explanations. Then comes Marfa Sobakina, our Marfa. She is chosen through the bride show, marries the Tsar, and shortly afterwards becomes seriously ill. She weakens quickly and dies after a very brief time as Tsarina. Some sources speak of a natural illness, other readings suggest poisoning. Historians disagree on the exact details, but everyone sees the same pattern. The women around Ivan are remarkably often sick, suspiciously removed, or gone. After Marfa comes another wife, Anna Koltovskaya, who ends up in a convent after failing to give him a son, and Anna Vasilchikova, who disappears from court and dies in religious seclusion. On paper, it is a neat list, Tsarinas of Russia. In practice, they are lives decided by others. Of Marfa's wedding day, we mostly know the bare facts. There was a ceremony, there were blessings, she was officially made the Tsar's wife. How that day felt to her is not written anywhere. But with a ruler like Ivan and a court ruled by fear, a fairy tale wedding sounds more like a cruel joke than a dream. The sources are also silent about their wedding night. What we do know is how Ivan treated others when he felt betrayed or denied. We know about his terror force. We know about public punishments. We know he had no problem crushing anyone who crossed him. In a world like that, the bedroom is not automatically a safe space. Even without exact details, it is easy to imagine that a young woman like Marfa carries her new title with not just pride, but a deep undercurrent of fear. Years after Marfa's death, one event shows just how far Ivan is willing to go, even against his own family. Accounts and later historians describe an incident with his pregnant daughter-in-law. According to those stories, he explodes in anger over her behavior or her clothing and strikes her. Not long after, she loses her child. When his son, also named Ivan, confronts him about it, things escalate even further. Chronicles describe how the Tsar, in a fit of rage, swings his scepter and hits his son on the head. The prince is gravely injured and dies shortly afterward. A famous painting shows Ivan holding his dying son, eyes wide with horror at what he has done. Whatever exact details are debated, one image remains. Ivan is capable of extreme violence, even against those closest to him. For women like Marfa, that message is chillingly clear. If even a son is not safe, a bride certainly is not. Shortly after her own wedding, Marfa falls ill. The sources describe how she weakens rapidly, loses her appetite, and can barely function, and then she dies. No children, no long life at court, no years as a powerful Tsarina, just weeks between bride show and grave. What caused her death will probably never be fully clear. Some chronicles simply say illness. Others suggest poisoning and point to intrigues at court. The fact remains, her life ends almost immediately after being chosen. For Ivan, it is yet another reason to fuel suspicion and act on his paranoia. For Marfa, it is the abrupt end of a story that never had the chance to go in a direction of her own. Was Marfa an exception? Not really. She is one name in a long chain of women around a ruler known for violence, paranoia, and extreme mood swings. The biggest scandal is not just that one man is dangerous, The real scandal is that an entire system allows that danger to thrive. Families send their daughters to the bride show, hoping for influence and status, a place near the throne. Priests bless marriages that make perfect political sense, but are personally unpredictable and risky. Servants, officers, chroniclers, many of them stay silent or wrap tragedies in polite words. Illness, convent vanished from the record, and we, centuries later, still love telling fairy tales about princesses and palaces without thinking about the real girls who had no say in who lay down next to them. Marfa Sobakina, in the official lists, just one name among many. In reality, the story of a young woman brought into the heart of a dangerous court through a bride show and gone again within weeks. Officially, she fell ill and died. In the shadows, whispers of poison, paranoia, and a Tsar who saw conspiracies everywhere. Her marriage is not the crown on her life. It is a sentence that barely gives her time to be Tsarina at all. This was the story of the princess given to a monster Tsar. And Ivan the Terrible was far from the only ruler who treated his wives as pawns or disposable objects. All across Europe, daughters were married off to men with blood on their hands, all in the name of peace, alliances, and power. If you want to uncover more dark stories hiding behind crowns and titles, subscribe to Crown Secrets, turn on notifications, and stay close. In the world of crowns and castles, a marriage is rarely a happy ending. Most of the time, it is the beginning of the nightmare.